I would like to apologize here at the Treeberry Memorial Library for the lack of Where Loyalties Lie update today. I had just happened to read on the feature box of film fiction, and I saw that another Mare Do Well accusation fic had appeared. So, I decided that since Friendship is Empathy did not have an update today, I've decided to read one of my favorite accusation fics of all time. And afterwards, I'll give a little review and talk a little bit about accusation fic. But for now, here at Treeberry Memorial Library, we present to you, with pride, Friendship is Empathy. Please enjoy. Friendship is Empathy by Trinary. Chapter 1. Friendship is Empathy. It was early afternoon in Ponyville. A newcomer from the larger or more bristly locales of Manhattan or Canterlot would have remarked on Ponyville's laid-back charm and its quaintness. At least until they came to a stop at Golden Oaks Library, where the quiet charm of Ponyville was shattered by a series of non-stop gastric explosions. Spike belched up another scroll as he leaned back on Twilight's bed. He groaned, closing his stomach. "Oh, Twilight! How many more? I can't stand it! Oh, it hurts so much." Twilight Sparkle was busy levitating each of the burnt-up scroll over to her desk and establishing a neat little pyramid of them. "I'm sorry, Spike. I think that's all of them," she finished weakly. Her number one assistant glared at her as he held up the last scroll. "I'm really sorry, Spike. I'll promise I'll make it up to you." The last scroll floated over to join the others. "But Princess Celestia thought it would be a good idea if I put all our friendship reports together in a book. Remember how useful my friendship reports were when Discord escaped?" "Vividly." Oh. Twilight gave a small chuckle. "Well, once I put them all together, we won't ever have to do that again. Isn't that great?" The only answer was Spike's gentle snoring. She decided to let the poor little guy rest at least some while she worked. Just to be safe, she reread Princess Celestia's letter that accompanied the multitude of scrolls. "My faithful student, as we discussed, I have sent you all of the friendship reports you and your friends have written to me. You have made some very wonderful friends, and hearing you all learn the magic of friendship is the highlight of my day. I have kept your reports, have all been carefully catalogued and preserved in my study. But knowledge is meant to be shared. This is truly a wonderful project you have undertaken, and I have enclosed instructions for a spell that should make your task easier. It is my hope that in reading the scrolls written by you and your friends, you will be able to relive those wonderful moments and think about all the moments yet to come. Friendship is an older and deeper magic than any taught in the classrooms of the School for Gifted Unicorns. It pleases me to see the progress that the 6 of you, as well as Spike and those 3 delightful fillies, have made in this field. I look forward to your future discoveries. Sincerely yours, Princess Celestia of Equestria." Twilight smiled and set it aside. Perhaps he'd include that as part of the introduction. She looked over the spell instructions that came with the letter. The first part was a duplication spell, which allowed her to instantly replicate her letters for the book, while keeping the originals intact. The second allowed her to transfer the written words onto the scrolls onto the pages of the book itself. There was also a spell to add additional pages to the book. After practicing on some notes of her own, Twilight started on her work. While normally not one for dawdling, Twilight couldn't help but read each letter before creating a duplicate for her book. First were the letters written by Twilight herself to the princess. Then came the ones to her friends started to write after the incident with the wanted-needed spell. Even though she was alone, Twilight's cheeks flushed when she thought about that mess. She didn't know what Princess Celestia would have done if it weren't for her friends sticking up for her. She started reading and arranging her friends' letters. Although Celestia had safeguarded them back in Canterlot, they had been sent to her out of order. It struck Twilight as a little odd, until she remembered that Spike had sent them all back in one massive post after the debacle with Discord. Oh well, that just gave Twilight the chance to properly organize them herself. She caught to her hopes together gleefully as she started putting her friends' letters in order. She briefly debated whether she put them in chronological order or by sections based on who authored them. Ah, the dilemmas of being an editor. Best assignment ever! Twilight grinned impeciously. No, she mentally corrected herself. The best assignment ever was being ordered to study the magic of friendship here in Ponyville. She made a mental note to ask for a copy of that degree. That definitely belonged to the introduction of the volume. Ultimately, she decided to put them in chronological order. Twilight chuckled as she found Applejack's cheeky letter to the princess following the events of Cyrus season. Dear Princess Celestia, I didn't learn anything! Twilight had been mortified when Applejack sent that letter. Truth be told, it was probably best she didn't read her friend's letters before Spike sent them. Otherwise, he probably would have tossed that one out. Oh, at the time, Twilight had a panic attack and started frantically writing an apology note to the princess, pleading for mercy on Applejack's behalf before she went and badgered the farm boy to write an apology of her own. It had taken her friends the better part of the day to convince her that Princess Celestia wouldn't mind about Applejack's tone or her less than proper grammar. With the benefit of hindsight, though, it was pretty funny. Moving on, she had a pleasant surprise when she found Rarity's lesson transcribed in the princess's own handwriting. Twilight had always wondered if Rarity had given her friendship report during the impromptu birthday in Canterlot. She was glad Rarity still wrote it down for her. Twilight herself had also made a point to write down some other reports that she or her friends had sent to the princess themselves. She would hate for any of them to be missing. Twilight smiled as she came across Fluttershy's letter right from after Tornado Day. As wonderful as it was to read her friends' lessons, remembering the challenges that they faced and their growth along the way was even better. Fluttershy realized that even the smallest of contributions can count. Rarity discovering that she should never be ashamed of where she came from. Pinkie Pie realizing that friendship can take many forms. The Cutie Mark Crusaders' open letter to Ponyville and the Full Free Press were there too. As unpleasant as that whole situation had been, she did think it was a good sign that even Apple Bloom, Sweet Belle, and Skidoo had started writing letters to the princess. At this rate, all of Ponyville would be sending the princess letters on friendship. Twilight smiled at the thought as she idly got the rest of her friends' letters together and got them in order. For thoroughness' sake, she counted through them to make sure they were all there. Rarity and Sweet Belle's letters on being sisters, Apple Bloom's letter on patient, Rainbow Dash's from when she got tank, Rarity's letter from when she was proud of where she... Wait. Twilight frowned. Where was Rainbow Dash's letter on humility after that whole business with Mare Do Well? That happened before Rarity's trip to Carolot. She was sure of it. Thinking back, she realized she hadn't actually seen it anywhere in the pile of scrolls. Twilight gasped. Feeling the panic began to rise as he hastily flipped through scroll after scroll. How could this be? Princess Celestia says she made certain to send them all. Could she have made a mistake? She bit her lip, horrified at the thought that she would have to send the princess a letter suggesting that she had. What if the princess was upset that Twilight accused her of making a mistake? Or what if she felt that Twilight was being selfish for asking her to take time out of her exceedingly busy day for one straight letter? What if she thought that Twilight had lost it and took back all her letters before she could finish her book and... Twilight shook her head. Calm down, Twilight. You know the princess won't be upset, she hoped. Still, it is weird that the princess would lose one scroll. They're so careful with their mail in the palace. She knew from the history books, and her own talks with the princess, that half the bureaucracy in Canterlot had been developed to ensure exactly that this sort of thing doesn't happen. In fact, Princess Celestia had created her spell for sending letters via magic sometime afterwards. She even said in her letter to Twilight that they catalogued everything. Surely they would have noticed if one friendship report was missing. The Lavender Unicorn mused aloud. I mean, the only other reason would be if... Her eyes widened. Spike was suddenly and really awoken from his much-delivered nap by the sound of a whistling kettle, which was odd considering he hadn't put any up this morning. He really rubbed his eyes and sat up, stretching as he overlooked the source of the noise. His eyes snapped wide open when he saw the sound that was coming from steam escaping Twilight's ears as her old face turned red and twisted with anger. Sensing what was coming, he dove back under the covers and hid beneath Twilight's pillow. Outside, any pony walking past the library would have been suddenly deafened by a loud yell that frightened every bird between Ponyville and the Everfree Forest. Rainbow Dash! Rainbow Dash was reclining on a stray cloud, hovering over the outskirts of Sweet Apple Acres. She wasn't napping at the moment. Not yet, anyway. Rainbow was enjoying the feeling of the sun warming her. She wriggled deeper into cloud, letting her tail hang off the edge of the cloud as she tucked her hose behind her head. Oh yeah, this was wonderful. Life was good. Rainbow Dash! The Cyan Pegasus' ear twitched as she heard some pony call her name. She didn't open her eyes, but her face did furrow slightly as she tried to judge how her name was being used. Was it being called by a pony in trouble seeking her help? Some pony wanting her to do her work? Was it Pinkie Pie looking for some pony to be hyper at? Applejack looking for some pony to help chores? No. It was Twilight Sparkle, and she sounded annoyed. Dash sighed and rolled over, grabbing a corner of the crowd and dragging it over her like a blanket. Maybe Twilight would go away if she didn't respond. Twilight was getting close. Rainbow Dash could hear her hose pounding the ground. Rainbow Dash, I know you're up there! Groaning, Rainbow bowed to the inevitable setup. Ugh, fine, what is it? She rubbed her eyes as she looked down at the unicorn glaring up at her angrily. Stomping a hoof for emphasis, Twilight shouted up at her. Get down here right this minute! You've really done it this time! What did I do? Rainbow asked as she flew down. A stray thought passed her mind. Is this about underlining all the dirty words in the library dictionary? Twilight growled. No. Rainbow Dash scratched her head. Oh, I'm kind of surprised you found out about your bed already. What's wrong with my... Twilight shook her head. No, never mind. It can wait. Rainbow Dash, this is about your letter, the one about humility and bragging. Remember Mare Do Well? Rainbow grimaced, a jerk like she had been stung. Oh, yeah. That. Yeah, that, Twilight exhaled, trying to relax. More normally, she asked, why didn't you send it to the princess? I didn't... Not sent it, I mean. Rainbow Dash blustered, only to sag a second letter. I never wrote it. Twilight's eyes widened. What? Why? Dash awkwardly turned her head and rubbed her right leg against her left. Twi, do we really have to talk about this? This happened months ago. Can't we just, forget about it? We can't forget about it! Twilight blurted out, her eyes wide. It was a lesson in friendship! Rainbow crossed her hose across her chest. Oh, is that what it was? I forgot. Momentarily missing her sarcasm, Twilight's gasped. Oh no! Rainbow Dash, you have to write that letter. What? She blinked, her mind starting to cut up as her panic receded. Rainbow, what are you saying? We did that for your benefit. The Pegasus snorted angrily, lowering herself onto all fours so she could stomp her foot angrily. You want to know why I never wrote that stupid letter? I meant to. I did. I even started the Dear Princess Celestia and everything, but I couldn't think of anything to say, so I decided to grab a snap and take a nap. I promised myself I'd write it after I rested. And you forgot afterwards and kept putting it off, right? Twilight provided hopefully. Her face fell when Rainbow Dash shook her head. No. The more I thought about it, the more I was convinced you guys were... She bit her lip. Were what? Twilight asked, taking a step forward. Rainbow Dash exhaled. Horrible. Twilight felt her jaw drop idly. What? Rainbow swallowed, her body shaking with the effort she was using to not lose control. Look, this is why I didn't want to talk about it, okay? I didn't want to get in your faces about it. I thought that you guys would think that I was just being a big-headed or a jerk, so I decided not to say anything. But what you guys did... It was wrong, okay? Messed up like Discord at Piggy's party with frogs and a bag of flour wrong! I don't understand. We were trying to help. You were bragging so much. So what? Rainbow shouted, flapping her wings and hovering over Twilight, stunning her into silence. Someone's bragging a lot. Big deal. You never pulled that sort of stuff on any pony else when they went around bragging. Twilight took a step back, confused. What do you mean? Rainbow Dash lowered herself to the ground. Jeez, you want a list? Remember when Applejack was convinced she could harvest all the apples on Sweet Apple Acres herself? She waved for Twilight to nod. Well, was it that being boastful? I suppose it was a little. But she didn't get a chance to finish. And what do you know? She couldn't do it! Rainbow cut her off. So what did you do? Did you try to show her up? Prove that you and your magic could harvest the apples better than the pony whose entire life was apple farming? She narrowed her eyes. Oh, wait. No, you didn't. You went to talk to her, and she blew you off. So you went to talk to her again, and she blew you off again. That wasn't the same thing, Twilight insisted. Applejack was hurting herself more than any pony else in that situation. Rainbow snorted. Are you kidding? She lost me into your house, gave me and Pinkie Pie and who knows how many others food poisoning. Then she stampeded a herd of bunnies through Ponyfield and destroyed ponies' gardens, including their flowers and crops. Some of those ponies make their livelihoods on that stuff, she frowned. But I never saw you or any pony else sneaking behind Applejack's back to prove that you could outdo AJ. That's not... And remember Trixie? When she came to town bragging and blustering, and I should remind you, lying through her teeth, all you wanted to do was go home and hide under your bed, and instead of standing up to her. Hey, where were you when she was humiliating me, Applejack, and Rarity? You didn't do a dang thing to stand up for us and stop her. So why did a total stranger like Trixie get a free pass and not me? Twilight shook her head as everything seemed to go out of control. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Seeing Twilight without an answer just made Rainbow launch into her again. Remember when Apple Bloom went around town showing off her cutie marks? Both of them? She shook her head incredulously. I didn't see Applejack having a problem when it was her sister showing off in front of the entire town. Never saw Apple Bloom's friends give themselves cooler cutie marks to try and humiliate Apple Bloom. Rainbow panted as if she was running a race. It just came pouring out. The dam of many months' patience having given out. I never saw any pony tell Rarity to give it a rest when she goes on about how amazing her outfits are. Never heard you suggesting to us that we should set up your own dress shop to drive Rarity out of business to teach her a lesson about being modest. And do I even have to say anything about the competition at Cloudsdale? But Twilight couldn't get a word in edgewise. Rainbow just kept going, speaking so fast and heatedly it was a wonder she remembered to breathe. And what about Flim and Flam, Yeah, they were jerks, but it was AJ's family who were bragging that their sire was the best. Shouldn't we help Flim and Flam to try to teach the apples some humility? Rainbow spat the word scornfully. Hey, I saw Granny Smith's face when she tried their sire. Those storkily twins were able to make good sire and make it faster than the apples could. So what if the apples weren't being modest? And if Flam and Flam could actually deliver on their promises? We helped out AJ because she was our friend. When every pony in town called me a hero, no pony had an issue with what I said or did. No pony had a problem with my bragging. The only ponies who did were the 5 of you, my best friends! She gasped as she finished, her sides heaving and her head lowered. Twilight was stunned by the onslaught. She didn't know what to do. She had no idea Rainbow felt this way. Finally, when she caught her breath, she looked Twilight in the eye. The purple unicorn was surprised to see tears swelling up in the corners of the proud Pegasus's eyes. How could you? Rainbow asked softly. Twilight shook her head, trying to assemble her thoughts. Rainbow, why didn't you tell us? I had no idea you felt like this. You could have just talked to us. No, I couldn't have! Rainbow's voice sounded strained as she tried to keep a hold of her temper. Remember back at Sugar Cube Corner when this was all going down? You were all talking about how great Mare Do Well was. Sorry, about how great all of you were! She corrected herself sarcastically. You all laughed at me. You flat out laughed at me! Twilight's ears lowered as she recalled. You were all just so smug, laughing about how the 5 of you managed to show me up and outdo me, and I didn't even know it was you! You went behind my back and lied, and I couldn't trust you guys, okay? Not about this, Rainbow admitted. And then I felt like I was the bad guy because I couldn't trust you, so I just wanted to move on and pretend it never happened, okay? But it did, and now you've brought it up again, and I'm just so angry that I want to explode! Rainbow, Twilight shook her head. I'm sorry if we hurt your feelings, but you have to remember, you were really out of control. Rainbow jerked his tongue, sparring. I was out of control, CLD angry. At least I didn't make any disasters for me to solve, Miss Smarty Pants! Rainbow tossed her head in triumph as Twilight jerked violently, her face heating up. Yeah, remember that? How would you have reacted if me and the girls had decided to get together and teach you a lesson about stressing over your friendship reports by writing one behind your back? Hey, suppose the princess, the pony you've been trying to please ever since you were a filly, arrived and said that we were better students than you. That's constant jaw. But no, you went nuts, and we stuck our necks out for you. So tell me, how is that when you or any pony else gets so wrapped up in what they're doing, they get a slap on the ankle, and I get to be humiliated by my so-called best friends? Normally, Twilight would have tried to respond to her clearly distraught friend in as calm and rational manner as she was capable of, but the one immediate incident was very much a sore spot, and Rainbow had just jabbed it with a red-hot poker. Oh, like you're a perfect friend? Twilight shot back, trembling with anger. Remember when I went to you before the royal wedding, trying desperately to warn all of you that something was wrong with Princess Cadence, but none of you listened to me? What about that? Taken aback by Twilight's sudden initiative, Rainbow Dash twisted her rings. Hey, I wasn't even there to see fake Cadence acting like a jerk. I was busy working on my Sonic Rainboom. And that pretty much sums up your priorities, Twilight snarked. After the rehearsal, you and the others just blew past me to comfort a pony who was already being coddled by my mind-controlled brother. A pony you had just met, instead of giving me the time of day. Well, it's not like you've never been wrong, or leaked to the wrong conclusion, Dash blustered. Like the Smarty Pants thing, or how wrapped up you were when you got the message for your future self. You're not exactly known for reacting well under pressure, and when you showed up at the rehearsal, you sounded nuts! Twilight shook angrily. I kept trying to warn you. I tried to tell every pony after dinner, and you all ignored me. Then, when I saw her cast a spell on my brother, I tried to talk to you all again, but you were all so happy because you got to be bridesmaids. Twilight glared at Rainbow, making her flinch. Yeah, remember that? Even you cared more about your dress than you did me. So I tried to warn you all. Not once, not twice, but 3 times about Cadence. And did you listen to me? No! So sorry if my last attempt wasn't as planned and diplomatic as usual. I needed you guys, and you just blew right past me without a word. As he stopped there, things might have ended differently. As she was upset about her own issues, even Rainbow Dash could see how horrible and hurt Twilight was over this. But Twilight was still angry. She had come to talk to Rainbow Dash why she had lied to her, only to have Pegasus explode at her for something that had happened months ago, ruthlessly poke and prod at every misstep Twilight had made. She felt like she was being dissected. So strong was her sense of violation, for a betrayal of Rainbow Dash rubbing these instances in her face, Twilight couldn't help but adding one final barb. So much for the element of loyalty. Rainbow Dash snapped her head up as if struck, stomped her hoof so hard to the ground that it cracked beneath her. What the hey? It's not like any pony seriously suspected her of being a giant, ugly bug queen. I was the only pony to not watch Cadence act weird. Why blame me? Sorry, I guess I just expected more from my most loyal friend. Twilight's voice dripped with sarcasm. Rainbow Dash's wings snapped open as she whinnied in anger, rearing up. You've got some nerve to talk about loyalty after what you pulled. You might act like the smartest pony ever, but you don't know the first thing about being loyal. And you do? Go ahead, enlighten me. Rainbow smacked her hooves front together. It's about being there for your friends and the ponies you care about, instead of being a jealous nag. Jealous? Me? Twilight flicked her tail. You're being ridiculous. Oh, really? Rainbow Dash challenged. Then why was it that you and the others were the only ponies in town who gave a flying feather about how I acted? I didn't hear any pony else complain. Hey, I didn't even hear you complain since you decided to sneak around my back without even talking to me first! She crossed her hooves. But I figured it out. You're jealous because every pony in town appreciated what I do without me even having to try. You, she pointed accusingly, have been trying to get the princess to appreciate what you do so much. Whatever she says, you do whatever she says without question. Turn the entire town upside down whenever so much as she looks in your direction, and you're still afraid she's going to banish you to magic kindergarten or something. So, yeah, you were totally jealous that I could get ponies to like and appreciate me without having to turn everything into a quivering, crazy mess! Ha! Twilight barked. You've been reading too much Daring Dude and Rainbow, because that is some piece of fiction. She stomped her hoof. If you're so great, what are you still doing here? Twilight prompted. Why aren't you off with your precious Wonderbolts? Oh, that's right. They know how to look for some pony better than a lazy, egotistical, self-absorbed Pegasus who would rather nap than do her job! Rainbow Dash shook her angrily. You shut up! I am going to be a Wonderbolt, and when I am, I'm never going to speak to you again! Why, wait! Twilight snapped. I can't believe I was ever friends with such a selfish, immature jerk! Rainbow Dash shoved her face against Twilight's. Same here, you snotty, neurotic control freak! Fine! 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 The two glared at each other before breaking away at the same time and going their separate ways. Rainbow Dash tuned away, over Sweet Apple Acres and back to town. Twilight teleported herself to the library. Spike was balancing precariously atop a stack of books, swaying slightly under his weight. Standing at the base of the leaning tower of literature, Fluttershy looked up to the diminutive dragon.
Spike, are you sure you don't need any help? I can wait until Twilight comes back, or, fly up myself.
Reaching out with one claw, Spike grit his teeth with determination. No way! I'm Twilight's, #1 assistant. I totally got this. A bead of sweat dripped down his forehead as he reached for the book in front of him. Chronicle of Ferris, right? At Fluttershy's nod, Spike reached out for it. His wriggling digits were so close they could smudge the dust off the spine. Knowing Twilight, he figured she would make him dust the books long before if there was that much dust on him. His claws closed around the spine as he tried to pull the book away from the shelf. Got it! He whispered in victory as his claws closed around the book. Just as Twilight teleported into the middle of the room. Whoa! Spike wobbled, flailing his arms as he tried to maintain its balance. But it was no use. Mount Book was coming down. Look out below!
Eek.
Fluttershy covered her eyes as Spike and a tidal wave of books pummeled down, covering the floor. A moment later, a trio of heads, one dragon and two ponies popped out of the sea of books. Sorry, Twilight. Spike chuckled weakly at Twilight, knowing just how dead he was. Oops. He gave her a smile that was soon wiped off his face as he saw her expressing, Twilight? Twilight said nothing, not even to yell at Spike for the potential damage. She just climbed out of the mess and walked over to the stairs. Confused, Spike proceeded to dust himself off and help pull Fluttershy out of the mess. Sorry about the mess. Can I clean it up after we go to the picnic? Yeah, softly. I've been looking for it too all weekend. Okay. Twilight sighed. It's fine. You two just go. I'm not going. You guys have fun. I'm just... See you later. Twilight trotted upstairs and out of sight, not waiting for a reply. A moment later, the door closed.
Is Twilight okay?
Fluttershy asked in concern as she pulled a book off her head. She was this morning. Twilight wrung his tail back into shape after having landed on it. Probably just wants to get started on some project or other. Fluttershy bit her lip daintily.
If you say so. I'm sure the picnic will be very nice. Perhaps Twilight will change her mind and join us.
The two of them journeyed over to Gazebo where the picnic was being held. They were soon joined by Applejack, Pinkie, and Rarity. They were surprised and a bit disappointed to hear that Twilight wouldn't be joining them. Setting up the blanket and food, they got settled as they awaited for the final member of their circle to arrive. But Dash never came. Applejack scratched her head in confusion as she looked over the ponies' picnic. What in tarnation? She asked after Fluttershy and Spike sat down and explained that Twilight was staying home. First Twilight skips out on something that's schedule of hers, and then Rainbow Dash passes up her favorite lunch. Peanut butter with Zap Apple Jam sandwich with apple family cider? I know that pony loves napping something fierce, but no way would she miss out on Friday cider. Something ain't right. Feeling sheepish for his earlier misguided optimism, Spike rubbed the back of his head. Twilight was looking kind of off when she came home. Applejack gave him a knowing look. Divine off. Yeah! Pinkie Pie poked her head between them, violating every pony's and dragon's personal space.
Do you mean off like some pony took off her battery, or off like, oh no, I'm late for my report, ache, off?
Spike and Applejack just blinked. Fluttershy shook her head.
Oh no, it wasn't something anything like that. She just seemed unhappy.
Rarity used her magic to gently dab a napkin at her mouth as she finished taking a sip of her tea.
Perhaps Twilight and Rainbow Dash's absences are connected.
I think she went to talk to Rainbow Dash this morning. Spike thought it over as he finished a mouthful of pastries. When she came back, she was looking kind of down. Maybe they had a fight or something. Applejack adjusted her hat. That makes more sense than I'd like to admit it. I'm going to hunt down Rainbow and see what that darn fool pony did this time. She trotted away from the picnic and back to Sweet Apple Acres. She didn't mean anything by her remark about Rainbow Dash. It was more of an assumption that there had been an argument than it was the hot-headed Pegasus who was most likely the instigator. Applejack went back to expect a fuming, sulking pony that would have to push to apologize first. The orange farm pony walked through the apple orchard, her eyes trained for any telltale signs of her quarry. She looked down for a discarded apple cores littering the ground, the trees, or a rainbow-colored tail hanging down from a branch. Instead, she found nothing until she passed by the family barn. That's when she heard the faint, sniffling sounds coming from inside. The door was partly open. Silently, Applejack trotted over and walked into the barn. Rainbow Days? Sugar Cube, you in here? Everything okay? She saw Rainbow Dash lying on a stack of hay bales. Leave me alone, she grumbled lowly as she turned away from the door. Rainbow's voice was even scratchier than usual. I'm fine. If you say so. Applejack headed over. We were a mite bit surprised you didn't show up to the picnic. You did know we had some Apple Family cider, right? Rainbow grumbled some more, her face pressed against the hay. Don't care about any stupid cider. Applejack sighed. Rainbow, honey, what's going on? Twilight didn't come either. Did something happen? There was no response. Did y'all have a fight? She prodded Rainbow Dash gently with her hoof. It's okay. We can tap this out. No, we can't. Rainbow Dash lifted her head out of the hay. You'll just take her side like you always do! She accused without real much heat. Applejack cocked her head, legitimately confused. She took a seat next to the miserable, scowling Pegasus and draped her leg across her back. Hey, come now. That's some real stinking thinking you got going on there. We're all friends. Rainbow's incredulous snort said it all. Now the cow pony was really concerned. Rainbow, what happened? Mare Do Well happened. Huh? How did that old thing come up? Don't want to talk. Leave me alone. Rainbow Dash sulked and turned her head away. Applejack frowned. Rainbow Dash, if you really wanted to be alone, you'd be up in your cloud house where no pony except maybe Fluttershy could reach you. But you ain't. You're in my bone. So I figure you want to talk, whether you want to admit it or not. But even if you don't say a word, I ain't leaving. Fine. Rainbow exhaled as she sat upright. She stretched out some kinks in her neck and hastily drew a hoof across her face. Do you ever think of clearing this place out? I think this hay is messing with my allergies. Applejack declined to point out the fact that Rainbow didn't have any allergies, and even if she did, she was a pony. Hay wasn't about to be the cause of them. I'll keep that in mind, she commented dryly. So come on. How did Mare Do Well cause a fight between you and Twi months after it happened? Rainbow sighed and fizzed. Twilight found out I never said any friendship report to the princess about that whole mess. Why not? Because if I wrote anything, it probably would have gone like this. I learned that my friends are perfectly willing to go behind my back and to lie and laugh to me just so I can learn a lesson about my behavior that no pony else in town but them cared about. Rainbow snapped. And maybe as a P.S., it's okay for any pony other than me to brag about their achievements. Applejack drew back, surprised by the sudden heat in the previously drawn pony. Well, Nelly, sell it back! Rainbow hunched her shoulders and snorted but tried to calm herself. Whew! I'll take it that you and Twilight had some words about it? Rainbow nodded. Sugar Cube, had you had this eaten at you ever since then? Another nod. Oh, Rainbow, why didn't you ever tell us? Didn't you hear me? You went behind my back and put on a full-blown costume just to humiliate me. I couldn't trust you guys anymore. Not like I could before. She looked away from Applejack. I thought you'd just think I hadn't learned my lesson. I didn't think I could take another lesson. Applejack sighed. Oh, R.D., I'm sorry. That whole business really hurt, huh? She gave her friend a sideways hug. I'm powerful sour about that, but the way you were bragging and carrying on, it was downright unbearable. And that excuses everything, huh? Rainbow Dash gave a glare out of the corner of her eye. I didn't see you turning down that big old trophy the town gave you for stopping that cattle stampede. Or send out the town gave you for the equestrian rodeo competition. The orange pony shook her head. That weren't the same. I didn't get up and boast about how great I was. No, you were just perfectly willing to accept it when every pony else was getting up to tell you that you were great. Which is what I did. Hey, I even got up to say you were great. Suddenly tickled at her memory. For that matter, a couple of weeks after that trophy ceremony, where I called you a great athlete, you were the one who started bragging about being the best athlete in Ponyville, if not all of Equestria. Remember that game of horseshoes before the Iron Pony competition? Rainbow Dash looked at her. You were the one who started rubbing it in that you beat me, and you were the best. We might never even gotten into that whole mess at the running of the lease if it weren't for you. Applejack held on to her temper with 4 hooves. She would have laid it to Rainbow, but realized that the Pegasus was just venting. That probably was what caused the trouble with Twilight, too. So she just hungered down and determined to lay it off. Rainbow went on. And then there was that stuff with the apple bucky season. It's cider season! She recalled her earlier argument with Twilight. How proud you were when Apple Bloom got 2 cutie marks! Seriously, how did no pony realize there was an issue with that? You certainly didn't tell her to knock it off with the showing off! You say you're just a simple apple farmer. But, so be honest, you have as much pride as I do. How come Mare Do Well never paid you a visit? How come it never occurred to Twilight or anybody else that you needed a lesson in humility too? Why me, huh? Why was it just me? There were about 100 things Applejack could have said there, ranging from rejecting everything Rainbow Dash said to acknowledging she was totally right. She didn't say any of them, because it didn't matter right now if Rainbow Dash was right or wrong. She was hurt and needed a friend. So that's what Applejack decided to be. She wrapped her forelegs around Rainbow Dash and gave her a tight hug. With scarcely any prompting, Rainbow Dash threw her face into Applejack's shoulder and started to cry, her whole body heaving with wrecking sobs. After a few minutes of just holding the Pegasus, Applejack broke the silence. We never meant to hurt you, she murmured softly. You know that, don't you? Rainbow sniffled and gave a weak nod. But you did. I know. Rainbow Dash gave a weak sniff that turned to a feeble laughter. I guess this is how Twilight felt too. What do you mean? You talking about your fat? No. The Sign Pegasus shook her head. Well, shoulder, sorta. I told her why I didn't write the letter and why I got her upset and she accused me of not being a good friend because I didn't believe her when she tried to warn us before the wedding. Applejack resisted the urge to wince. She rubbed Rainbow Dash's back, and Dash tried to retell the rest of that argument. She said I wasn't loyal enough. And she was right, wasn't she? Oh, honey, don't you be saying that, Applejack said, giving her a supportive nuzzle. None of us believe Twilight. Dash drew back before hanging her head. But I'm the element of loyalty. It's my job to be there for other ponies, and I blew it! Twilight was right. But Applejack shook her head. No, that ain't it at all. Being loyal or honest ain't our job. It's just who we are. And don't you think for a second that you ain't loyal. You're the most loyal pony I know. Twilight was just mad. Applejack reassured her, tilting her head up to look her in the eye. And I'm guessing you were too. The guilt was plain on Rainbow's face. I said all she cared about was pleasing Princess Celestia, and that she was a mess. And then she said all I cared about was the Wonderbolts, and I'd never be good enough and... Oh, jeez. We were terrible. Her eyes watered up. It's okay. It's okay. Applejack soothed as she stroked Rainbow's mind. She sighed sadly as Rainbow straightened herself up, wiping the tears away. Oh, Sugar Cube, crying don't suit you. How about you have a bit of rest here on the farm for a spell? We can save you some food for later. The Pegasus sagged. sounding drained as she relented. Okay. She leaned on Applejack as the ladder led Rainbow out of the house, up the stairs to Applejack's room. No sooner had Rainbow Dash gotten onto bed than she was out like a light. The sight of Rainbow snoring made Applejack smile in spite of herself. She tucked in her friend under the covers and gently nudged the pillow beneath her head. Seeing Rainbow Dash look so calm and peaceful after her experience in the barn was comforting. She quietly walked down the stairs to find her brother in the kitchen. Big Mike, can you do me a favor? I got Rainbow sleeping upstairs in my bed. Can y'all just keep an eye on her when she gets up? Maybe fix her something to eat? The big stallion nodded. Yup. Thanks, Big Mike. I'll be back as soon as I can. Applejack reared up on her hind legs before galloping hard for the gazebo where Spike, Fluttershy, Rarity, and Pinkie Pie were all waiting for her. Girls, Aunt Spike, she announced. We got ourselves a problem. Rainbow Dash stood before her friends, arrayed around in a half circle. I'm sorry. I didn't mean all those things. You know that, don't you, Twilight? It's okay, Rainbow, Twilight assured her. Dash sighed in relief. Really? Pinkie Pie nodded. Of course! There's just one itsy-bitsy teeny-tiny thing left to do. What's that? We need to teach you your lesson. Applejack grinned as he reached down, pulled off her face, revealing to be no more than a mask. The others did too. Rainbow Dash shook her head as she saw what lay underneath. No, no, not you! Her only answer was a mouthless smile from Mare Do Well. Rainbow Dash jerked her eyes open. She then immediately shut them again. The sunlight was streaming through the window right into her face. She groaned, stirring slowly. Her body felt heavy as lead as her sleep-addled brain put together if the sun was coming up, then she had slept clear through the afternoon and evening, straight on through the following morning. Morning there, Sugar Cube. AJ? Dash blinked as he stretched, sitting up. The orange pony was sitting in the chair, propped up against the wall. Across her lap was a blanket, making the Pegasus seem must have slept there the entire night. Ugh. I was really wiped out, huh? Sorry about taking your bed. Applejack nodded, popping her neck. Well, ain't a problem, Rainbow. Reckon you're feeling real peckish. You haven't eaten since what? Breakfast yesterday? Rainbow's stomach growled loudly in confirmation. Yeah, sounds about right. She swung her hose onto the floor and started stretching to get the blood flowing. Applejack yawned herself and scratched herself. Dash hesitated. So, did you see Twilight? She didn't know whether to be relieved or disappointed when Applejack shook her head. Twilight? Twilight? Applejack stood outside the library door, knocking. She had already been there for 5 minutes and no answer. She had no way of knowing for sure, but she strongly suspected Twilight Sparkle was up in her room, her face buried in her pillow, feeling so lost and sad that she wished she had Smarty Pants to cuddle. AJ wondered if she had time to run back to Sweet Apple Acres. Sighing, she knocked again. Twilight! A familiar country drawl announced. Sugar Cube, it's us. Can we come in? I ain't leaving till you talk to me. Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Rarity stood behind Applejack, with Spike sitting on the farm pony's back. From the other side of the door, she heard Twilight clear her throat. Not now, she croaked, sounding as horrible as the others expected she felt. Can you come back later? I'm really busy studying. Come on, Twilight. Open the door. We won't help. You can't help. No pony can help, Twilight moaned. Worse, y'all think that there goes crazy Twilight Sparkle, making something out of nothing again. Every pony and dragon present there flattened their ears against their heads, feeling miserable. Twilight. Applejack started again. Just go, Twilight said softly, followed quickly by the sounds of footsteps gently climbing up the stairs. Oh. Applejack leaned over and dropped a hoof over her back like she did yesterday. It's okay. We'll sort this out. You were both stressed out and hated it up and said things y'all didn't mean. But... Rainbow bit her tongue. Never mind. What? It's nothing. Sugar Cube. Applejack drew out the word, laying out Rainbow Dash knowing she wasn't going to drop this. She sighed. I didn't mean it, she whispered quietly. Not the stuff I said about Twilight. She added quickly. I mean, the stuff about Mare Do Well and just how angry I was. And I still am! And I think Twilight's the same way. Applejack rubbed her neck. Right mess we got going on here. I suppose I didn't realize how much this stuff bothered you. Of course, it might help if you were honest with us. Rainbow Dash looked down. I didn't want to lose our friendship by being mad at you guys. Every pony else had already forgotten all about me. I thought if I didn't go along with it, you just... She trailed off. Yeah, idiot! Applejack snorted, shaking her head. Her voice was surprisingly soft when she went on. How could you ever think we'd do that? I didn't think you'd go behind my back to humiliate me either. Rainbow couldn't keep the venom out of her voice as she spoke, for once hoping Applejack's competitive nature wouldn't rise to the challenge. It was bad enough being mad at Twilight. Getting into another fight with another friend over Mare Do Well would make things worse. Sorry. Applejack gave a weak smile. It's okay, Sugar Cube. Better say what you really feel and keep it bottled up. That's what got you and Twilight such a mess to begin with. Hey, you know me. Honesty's always the best policy. See, winked at Rainbow. Yeah. By the way, did Pinky ever make you one of her chimichurries, or did she go with the cherry tunga? Alright, fair enough. Applejack rolled her head. But that just makes my point. I couldn't save myself and every pony else a lot of heartache if I just told the truth. Tell me about it. Rainbow Dash nodded. Do you have any idea how angry Rarity was when she got back after we left her in the desert? AJ winced. Come on now. Let's get some breakfast. Rest of the family's already up. Sure enough, as the two mares walked downstairs to the kitchen, they found Granny Smith, Big Mac, and Apple Bloom all sitting around the breakfast table.
Morning, Applejack. Morning, Rainbow Dash.
Apple Bloom chirped brightly.
Did y'all have a nice sleepover?
Rainbow Dash gave to Philly, and then Applejack a look. Sure. Thanks for having me.
Nonsense.
Granny Smith spoke up as he pushed a tray of apple pancakes toward the Pegasus.
I ain't afraid of here. Applejack is welcome here. Y'all brought the family.
Thanks. Rainbow rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. That's really cool.
Hey, say again?
The wizened old mare blinked.
Hey, cold. Big Mike, did you really leave the window open again, you big loot?
Nope. The big stallion shook his head. Granny Smith chewed her lip.
Must be on account of how skinny you are.
She seemed not to notice Apple Bloom and Applejack's muffled giggling in the background. Rainbow glared at both of them, to no effect. She swallowed her mouthful of pancakes, was cut off when the matriarch of the Apple family put another helping of pancakes onto her plate.
Yeah, up now. You gotta put some weight in them bird bones of yours. That's the trouble with y'all Pegasus. Y'all eat more than your bird all you your opponent. Shucks. Y'all gonna get yourself a husband and rear some foals if you weren't so light the wind you could blow around.
Husband? Foals? Rainbow's jaw dropped as her face did a slow burn. Applejack was busy having a coughing fit into her head.
Yes, sirree. Well, take a look at Big Mac at y'all here. This big old lummox is great marriage material, ain't you, Big Mac?
For once, the taciturn stallion didn't answer with a yep or a nope. All that came out of his mouth was, "Rrrr."
Oh, so modest.
Granny Smith chuckled as she hobbled around the table, putting a hoof on Rainbow's shoulder.
I'm sure the two of you could play happy together. Red and blue go so nice together, don't you know?
Rainbow's cheeks were turning the color of Big Mac's coat, and his cheeks were turning a dark shade of purple. Applejack was pounding her a hoof on the table, her face red from laughter as tears streaked down her cheeks. What about Applejack? Rainbow Dash squeaked out, trying to get the attention off of her.
Applejack? See, I know I'm going to have to wait a while for Applejack to give me some grandfuls.
She lowered her voice and murmured to Rainbow Dash.
Sometimes I think AJ has the gay. Not that there's anything wrong with it, Matthew.
Rainbow Dash snickered as it was Applejack's turn to be horrified. Granny! Apple Blue scratched her head in confusion.
What's the guy? Is it like having an allergy or something?
Big Macintosh and Rainbow Dash snorted into their breakfast as Applejack plunked her face down into the table and covered her face with her hat. The rest of the breakfast was a quiet affair, as Big Mac stayed to clean the dishes, and Applejack and Rainbow Dash excused themselves. As they put some distance between themselves and the Apple family house, the two mayors finally spoke. "Well, that was..." "Ugh," Applejack shuddered. "Ugh, can we not ever discuss that breakfast? Ever?" "I won't if you won't," Rainbow agreed solemnly before laying a sigh. "So now what?" Applejack adjusted her hat and turned to Dash. "I think it's best you go to talk to Twilight." The expression of disbelief on the Pegasus' face was striking. Her wings flared open in shock. "What? Me? I'm the last pony she wants to see right about now." The cow pony shook her head. "I ain't so sure about that. Look, the both of you are mad at each other. You gotta clear that up. That's one thing. The other is that both of you feel like you can't trust the rest of us about this. Or maybe else you don't think we don't trust you. Either way, that makes the two of you have the best shot of reaching each other. You're the only one of us who can understand what she's going through. And that goes both ways." Rainbow Dash looked dubious. "I don't know about this, AJ. If you got any better ideas, I'd sure like to hear them." Applejack looked at her knowingly. "Fine. Stay right here, Sugar Cube. I got me an idea that might make this a lot easier." She ran back to the house. Rainbow scratched her head, wondering what she was up to. When Applejack returned, she was carrying something in her mouth. Rainbow Dash blinked at what she saw. "Seriously?" A slow grin crept across her face. "Thanks." She took Applejack's procured peace offering and flew off. Before heading to the library in Twilight, Rainbow Dash flew up, and up, and up. She flew as high as she could go. She looked down at Ponyville with a groan. All the tension finally got into her. As much as she wanted to erupt on Applejack and the others from Marewell to business, she had now to go apologize to Twilight for their blow-up yesterday, since he wasn't seeing anybody else. There, safe and secure in her solitude, Rainbow Dash did what she had been dying to do yesterday. Yell her hooves off. How was this fair? She was the pony her friends had conspired behind her back to humiliate, and Twilight had probably masterminded the whole thing. Why couldn't she just go home and wait for Twilight to come to apologize to her? Didn't that make a whole lot more sense? Rainbow shouted and yelled and screamed until her face was red and her throat was raw. She panted, exhausted. Even her training sessions didn't take this much out of her. Rainbow zoomed down onto a cloud bank, letting the moisture refresh her. Now that she had gotten that out of her system, maybe she could talk to Twilight and not do anything to make this worse. She hoped anyway. Rainbow flew down to the library. The polite thing for a pony to do would be to land at the front door and knock, asking Twilight if they could talk for a bit. That was what Applejack and the others had tried, to no avail. Fortunately, Rainbow Dash wasn't that polite. She zoomed over to the balcony and landed with a heavy thud. "Twilight, it's me! It's Rainbow Dash!" She wanted to face Hoof. Of course it was her. Who else would it be? Derpy, Raindrops, Cloud Chaser, Cloud Kicker, Flitter. "I'm here to talk to you! I know you're in there!" Behind the balcony doors, Rainbow heard a muffled shout of, "Go away!" from Twilight. "Come on, Twilight! Will you please just hear me out?" She paused for a response that never came. She stomped her hoof, getting mad. "I'm not leaving, Twilight! If I have to, I'll break down the door and apologize later! So why not just make this a bit easier on the both of us?" "I brought you a peace offering." Rainbow doubted that was what convinced Twilight to yield, but Twilight did open the door. Her eyes were red and puffy, and her mane was a wreck. She didn't look angry, just miserable. The Pegasus felt a surge of guilt. I brought you this." She held out the item Applejack had given her, and was relieved to see Twilight's eyes light up.
"Spring pants! Oh, Rainbow, thank you!"
She grabbed the stuffed toy and hugged it gleefully to her chest.
"I thought I'd never see her again."
She paused. "Is this some sort of message about what we said yesterday?" Rainbow gave her a blank look. "Twilight, it's me. Do you think I would do something that includes thinking about what it symbolizes?" "Good point," Twilight admitted. "Sorry. It's okay. Can we talk?" Twilight hesitated. You aren't going to make me leave, are you? After I came all this way?" The prismatic Pegasus gave her best pout. She sure wasn't playing it fair, but she was in this to win. I promised Applejack we'd talk. Do you know what he'll do to me if Sam finds out we didn't? You wouldn't do that to me, would you? Twilight knew as he was being put on, but smiled at the display. Okay, come on in. She stepped back to let Rainbow dash into her room. She sat down on the edge of her bed. You can have a seat here if you want. Thanks. Rainbow looked around at Twilight's room, procrastinating for a minute. Finally, when she knew she couldn't put it off any longer, she turned to face her friend. The two regarded each other awkwardly, unsure what to say. I want to say I'm really sorry for all the horrible things I said yesterday, Twilight said. Same here, Rainbow nodded. I'm really sorry too. I'm glad. Me too. We cool? We're cool. Good, good. We're not cool, are we? No, I don't think we are. Twilight's expression was mournful. Rainbow sighed. Look. I came here because I wanted to say sorry for all the really horrible things I said yesterday, but... She paused. Trying to find the right words was always difficult, especially in these sort of situations. But you still feel upset, and you feel like if you don't get what's bothering off your chest, it's like nothing is resolved? Twilight suggested. Rainbow nodded eagerly. Yeah, that's exactly it. How did you... Oh. She figured out a half second too late. You want to start first? You've been holding it longer. Twilight bit her lip. Okay. Des took in a deep breath, her wings visiting in agitation. I thought about it a lot, you know, the Mare Do Well thing. I mean, I tried writing that letter for the princess a couple of times. I know you guys are smart, and you were looking out for me, and I tried to convince myself what you guys did was the right, but... I can't. She paused to look at Twilight. I just can't. It's not like I didn't trust you, Twilight. I mean, we saved the world together like, 3 times? The purple unicorn was nodding, encouraging her to continue. That gave Rainbow the strength to continue. I tried so hard to see what it was you were trying to do, and I kept seeing this really horrible thing it did to me. And some part of me is worried that if I tried talking to you about it, you brush it off as me not wanting to learn my lesson. Maybe even doing the whole thing all over again. So I kept my muzzle shut and tried to laugh it off. Lesson learned and all that, but... The way every pony acted does say at you, Twilight supplied sadly. You thought every pony had more regard for you than that. And finding out they didn't, it was like a hoof in the face. The fact that no pony even thought twice about it after it was over was more unsettling. Rainbow Dash nodded, saying nothing. She didn't need to. To try to compose herself took a moment to preen her feathers. When she finished, she turned back to Twilight. Go ahead, Twilight. I promise I won't get mad. Twilight visited, trying to figure out how to begin. I'm sorry I brought up the wedding stuff to you like that. It wasn't fair to use it as a counter-argument to something that was upsetting you. Hey, I was the one who brought up the wanted needed spell stuff like that too, Des argued. I was angry and hurt and wanted to hurt you. Ugh, that sounds even more horrible than I originally thought! We both said things we regret, Twilight conceded. But what happened before the wedding really upset me. Seeing the 5 of you, the princess, and my brother just walk past me without a word, I felt like I was alone. Like I had lost every pony and everything that mattered. Rainbow grimaced. Yeah, I know what you mean. When Mare Do Well arrived, it felt like every pony was turning away from me because some pony newer and better was coming along, and I wondered just what was wrong with me, and that every pony could forget about me so fast. Do they dislike me for the stuff I could do to them? Pushing clouds around, save a filly from falling down a well and stuff. If some pony else could do that stuff better than me, then... What's the point, you know? What else am I if I'm not the pony doing all the incredibly cool, amazing stuff? I wondered why every pony would brush me aside the moment they met some pony who said she loves what you guys do. She made a face. Seriously, who even talks like that? This prompted a brief snicker from Rainbow. Princess Luna? Twilight giggled. The love has been doubled! The The two shared a smile that helped ease the tension. I know I'm not pretty like Cadence or wise like Celestia, and I get worked up over the small things sometimes, but I thought if I proven myself enough to have ponies trust me when I tell them something is wrong. But when the time came and I needed you all the most, you weren't there. I needed some pony, any pony, to be there for me. But none of you were. Not even my brother or the princess. It made me wonder, not just if I had been wrong, but if there was something wrong with me. Des nodded understandingly. That was the worst moment of my life. And I can't help feeling. Twilight's voice faded into a murmur. Where were you when I needed you the most? Rainbow Dash finished. The two looked at each other in understanding. Listen, Twilight, Rainbow Dash, Both started at once, only to fall into an awkward silence. Then, throwing caution to the wind, Rainbow and Twilight embraced each other. I'm sorry! They said at the same time, their voices quivering with emotion. Rainbow found her voice first. I'm so sorry for not believing you about Cadence and being a fake fat-headed jerk. I'm so sorry I went behind your back and came up with Mare Do Well plan like a scheming nag. Twilight was quick to exclaim, sniffling. I'm sorry I called you a jealous hag and that you were only care about pleasing the princess. You're the greatest friend ever. Rainbow added, her breath hitching. Twilight nodded, her own eyes misty. I'm sorry I said you weren't loyal. There's no pony more loyal than you. I'm sorry I called you Twilight Snarkle. Daz blurted out. Twilight was brought up short. You never called me that. I didn't? Rainbow voice flushed. Oh, I must have thought it then. Sorry. That's actually kind of funny. Don't tell Spike, though. He likes to think he's the only one who could come up with clever nicknames. Got it. Rainbow nodded. The two shared a brief chuckle before lapsing into an uneasy silence. It wasn't long before Twilight delicately cleared her throat. She idly traced her hoof on the bed as she worked up the courage to look at Rainbow Dash. I have to know, if it wasn't for the incident with Smarty Pants and the Wanted Needed spell and the false warning for the future, would you have believed me when I tried to warn you there was something wrong in Carolot? Rainbow Dash winced and looked down, not saying a word. Her silence spoke volumes. Twilight hung her head. I thought as much. It was my own fault then. Dash snapped her head up. Hey, wait a minute. Don't say that. Okay, that stuff might have been our mind, but every pony's made mistakes. If we went back over every time one of us screwed up, we'd never been able to listen to any pony. The truth is, we were all just too excited to take part in a royal wedding, to get to show off our stuff that we didn't want to listen to when one pony who knew the score felt that something was wrong. Thanks, Twilight leaned gratefully and nuzzled Rainbow Dash. She sighed. I guess having a snip when I found out my brother was getting married I didn't even know without talking to me first didn't help, huh? Rainbow shrugged. Totally understandable. I mean, he didn't even visit or drop you a letter to say, hey, Twilight, guess what? I'm dating your old full serve before getting hits. Seriously, no offense, but your brother is a total doofus. Twilight giggled. Yeah, he totally is. The two laughed again. It felt good. It felt like she was in a good place for the first time in what she felt like a long time. Sorry for not listening to you at the wedding rehearsal. And back when you were fretting about that friendship report, too. Twilight shook her head. It's okay. In the state of mind I was in, I don't think I would have listened to anything you guys said anyway. And I'm sorry for singling you out over all this and saying that you weren't loyal. You're the most loyal pony in all of Equestria. You have a right to expect some loyalty from us in return. I'm sorry about Mare Do Well. Yeah, Dash sighed. I guess it must have been pretty obnoxious for you guys to resort to that. Again, Twilight shook her head. No, well, yeah, but how you went about dealing with it wasn't right. When you were boasting so much how great you were, well, I felt we all fell for it too. About your bragging, I guess we fell for it too. Twilight took a deep breath and hugged Smarty Pants again. I think we forgot that you were a pony with regular feelings, And so we went and did this completely irregular thing, thinking that you would just take it as a lesson when it was over and move on. She reached out and put a hoof on Rainbow's shoulder, making sure she caught her eye. As much as we hated you bragging, what we did was think out your behavior with a method we would never have tried on any pony else. We wanted you to stop acting like you were so special, so better than any pony else. But all we did was treat you in a way we never treated any other pony, and made you think you weren't special at all. Aside from it being a wrong lesson, it was just mean. I'm sorry. It's okay, Rainbow sighed. You know what? I think it might actually be. I mean, I was just saying that because what you say, but I think I meant it. Twilight chuckled. I know what you mean. The smile on her face faded as a thought crossed her mind. Rainbow? Yeah? We're okay, but what about the rest of our friends? Oh, I feel awful for what I said to Applejack. I was afraid he'd dismiss what I had to say because I was upset, or that he'd think I was bringing up my old wounds to hurt you. Rainbow nodded. I said something dumb about how I thought they were just side with you no matter what. She stretched out her wings. I think we should go talk to them. Together, I mean. If we can work it out through all the crud we said to each other, then nothing can break us apart. You're right. Come on. Let's go see the girls. Rainbow Dash, Twilight walked out of the library together. The rest of her friends, Applejack, Rarity, Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, and Spike, were outside. The pair didn't manage to get out a single word before Crest and a massive group hug. But that was okay. No words were needed. Dear Princess Celestia, having friends is a wonderful experience. However, even the most well-meaning friend can do something that hurts you, and that feels worse than anything else in the world. But if you aren't doing yourself or your friends any favors by hiding what you're feeling, bearing your feeling does lead to building up and eventually exploding. If your friendship is strong, then it can survive being mad at your friends once in a while, especially when you realize that your friends never intended to hurt you. A strong friendship can withstand anything, especially when you trust each other with what you're feeling. Sincerely, Twilight Sparkle and Rainbow Dash. The two ponies smiled as they signed their names. Twilight levitated the scroll over to Spike, who sent it off to the princess with a puff of magic fire. It was later that evening, and the seven of them were enjoying a nighttime picnic out by the gazebo. At Twilight's suggestion, they lit a bonfire to roast snacks and tell stories around. Pinkie Pie had gone all out making the treats and snacks for that evening. During the evening, every pony found a moment to speak to Rainbow or Twilight alone and apologize for their role in the Mare Do Well scheme or the wedding fiasco. Afterwards, every pony gathered around and started a campfire to roast marshmallows. Applejack and Rarity bickered about the correct way to make s'mores, while Spike happily guzzed down the rejects they sent his way. Twilight Pinkie Pie entertained Fluttershy with all the shadow puppets she could make with her hoofs. Rainbow Dash and Twilight sat together, enjoying each other's closeness. Not a word was spoken, but much was still exchanged. Twilight got up and walked over to the bonfire. Using her magic, she stoked the fire and added more fuel. Then she walked back to Rainbow as the two smiled and went back to join their friends. Behind them, the last threads of the Mare Do Well costume were consumed by flames. The end. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I wrapped in where loyalties lie because I saw a new Mare Do Well popped up in the feature box. Now, let's not get me wrong here. The feature box is a great invention and should be available for fanfiction.net. And I'm not saying I hate every time I see a Mare Do Well story dealing with the fallout. No. Done right, you can get some really good emotional pathos out of a Mare Do Well story. And you can really get some really good feels going on. Heck, I know of 4 that I really enjoy. Alone, this, No Hard Feelings, which maybe I should do a live read one day, and Pony POV. They all deal with this situation perfectly. But sometimes when I look at some of them, they seem to leave out the other side of things, the main 6's way of looking at things, and just really want to focus on the sadness and the pain of Rainbow Dash without trying to take the other's side or even giving them a chance. The same could be said of Wedding Fix. So I decided to read this because I saw this and I wanted to give out a good example of what I personally believe a fic like a Mare Do Well fic should be. In this case, Friendship is Empathy does everything right. First off, it doesn't paint Domain 6 in a harsher light, and it doesn't paint Rainbow Dash in a harsher light. Both of them are shown to be in the wrong. It looks at both sides of the argument, and it gives both sides a chance to speak their piece. Second of all, they don't use this as an excuse to turn Rainbow Dash completely evil, or have Rainbow Dash do something like run away as soon as she thinks that she doesn't trust her friends. She finds a way to bury that element inside her and wants to continue staying by there. The same goes for Alone, that awesome fan comic. What I'm basically saying is when they do this, you have to remember that Rainbow Dash would stay behind them, even if she was angry at them. I mean, sure, she would be mad at them, but that doesn't mean she wouldn't love them anymore. She would stay by their side and keep that anger either A, burned up, or B, release it, and then do something awesome like after releasing it, find out that they're in trouble and come save them at the last second. And I felt like I needed to get this off and read this type of fanfic to see how it had been handled. And this story is completely awesome and really great. And I hope you guys can see why I enjoyed it so much and why this thing may be only one chapter, but it's got excellent friendship, but it's got an excellent TV tropes page. And don't worry, people. We'll start up with Loyalty Lies chapter 11 next time. See you then.